Hey Heather, I just finished work and I'm about to leave. Oh, so hot today. I feel extra exhausted. What are we having for supper today?
Hey John, I'm so sorry. Do you mind picking something up for yourself tonight? I couldn't prepare anything.
Why?
My morning sickness is really bad and I can't cook anything. I feel sick just by the smell of food.
Seriously? Ugh, so tired today, so I was hoping I'd come straight home.
I'm sorry, but I really don't feel well enough to cook today. I hope you do understand. Do you want me to order something for delivery?
Delivery? Isn't morning sickness similar to car sickness? You should be able to prepare a meal at least.
I told you that I can't. Like I said, it makes me want to throw up just by smelling the food. And it feels a lot worse than car sickness.
But it's not like that's a real sickness. Yeah, I think it was all in your head and you're just lacking willpower.
It's nothing willpower can solve, John. Either way, it would be great help if you could deal with your supper yourself for tonight. You don't have to worry about me.
You can't even prepare dinner for your hard-working husband. If you already can't deal with morning sickness, I can only imagine what else you won't be able to deal with.
I don't think you understand how this feels. It's really tough for some people.
How are you going to go through labor if you're so weak? My mom told me she had morning sickness too and she was pregnant, but she said it wasn't anything she can't bear. You just lack fortitude. You could maybe learn a thing or two from my mom.
Symptoms for pregnancy are different for everyone. And I happen to have a very bad morning sickness. You do know that even the level of pain for labor varies depending on a person, right? Some people even say that their morning sickness is different from when they had their first child and when they had their second child. It doesn't really mean much to compare my case with your mom's.
Well, but it's not like anything is wrong with you. It's in the same category as car sickness or motion sickness. But use that as an excuse to be lazy and slack off all day every day. Stop being a couch potato and do your job.
How am I supposed to do house chores when I can't even get up without throwing up? I'm not doing my job because I'm lazy. I haven't even been able to eat much because of this. It's causing me to have anemia too, and I'd say this is as real of a sickness as other sicknesses.
Don't be absurd. Being pregnant isn't a sickness. Don't you feel bad for real sick people by saying such a thing? Don't put yourself on the same stage as people battling with real sicknesses.
I'm battling with my sickness too.
Oh, come on, Heather. What in the world are you battling with?
So many different things, John. Being pregnant is not as easy as you think, you know. You go through morning sickness, you're bloated all the time, and you get constipated all the time too. There are so many food restrictions too. Like I can't even have any raw food, caffeine. It must be nice to be you. You can drink beer every day, eat whatever you want, and don't even have to worry about being sick the next day.
I deserve all those things because I work hard every day.
Carrying a child and giving birth is just as hard work as your job. It's something that you can't do.
Oh yeah, but simply because it's biologically impossible. Giving birth to a baby doesn't put food on the table like my job. You could at least do simple house chores while you're sitting at home.
That's what I'm trying to tell you this whole time. Why can you understand that there are times that I'm not even feeling well enough to do simple house chores either way? I won't be able to cook anything for you tonight. I'm not feeling well, so I'm going to bed now. John, let me inside the house. Hey, what are you thinking locking me out like this? How could you do this to me?
Shut up. Stay outside where you belong. I made sure and locked all the doors and windows.
Why are you doing this? You know that there's a hurricane coming today, right? The rain and the wind are really bad already. You must be able to see that from the window.
Yeah, I know. So what?
I'm soaked and cold to the core. Please let me in. I'm going to catch a cold otherwise.
No, this is your punishment. for you being so lazy all the time and not doing any house chores. You need to pay for your actions.
I wasn't being lazy. I was resting because I wasn't feeling well. I told you my morning sickness is really bad.
Don't use your morning sickness as an excuse. There's no one in the world that stays sick in bed from a mere morning sickness.
There is, right in front of you. Clearly, you've only known your mother's case. It really depends on the person on how bad it is. What your mom experienced isn't everyone's experience, you know?
I don't need to hear about any other cases to know. It's easy to imagine. Like I said before, being pregnant isn't a sickness, and I shouldn't have to cater to you at all. How many times do I have to remind you of that?
I told you every time that I feel just as sick as the real sickness. Why don't you get it? Being pregnant isn't a walk in the park like you make it out to be. I'm risking my life to do this.
Risking your life, you say? This is the 21st century, for Pete's sake. Do you not realize how much medicine has advanced in the last few hundred years? They say there's hardly any risk for mothers anymore.
What do you need to realize is that even with today's advanced medicine, there are still people who die from labor. Doesn't that mean I'm risking my life for this? And aren't I the only one between us that has to go through that risk? I'm growing a whole person inside me. Of course it's hard on the body.
And that gives you the right to slack off on your job as a housewife, even though I'm working hard every day. Do you mind explaining to me how that's fair?
You make it sound like I'm doing nothing. It's true that I need some more rest times, but other times I'm doing my job, aren't I?
It seemed like you're mostly resting whenever I was watching, especially cooking. I feel like I'm always eating out or have to order takeout recently.
I can bring myself to do other chores, but I really can't cook right now. Just the smell of it makes me throw up. I told you about this so many times. Or are you insinuating that I should cook while throwing up?
You keep saying you would throw up. What about you aren't really throwing up? Stop being so easy on yourself when you aren't even really sick.
Are you accusing me of lying about this? Why would I lie? Why would you even think that? Shouldn't you trust your wife?
How can I trust a wife who doesn't do a job at all? I locked you out so that you learn your lesson, but it looks like you need more time out there. Stay there in the rain and think about what it is you've done.
This is enough. Please let me inside. It can be good for the child or for me to be out in the cold for so long. Don't you care about the baby's well-being?
I've had enough of your nonsense. Stop using the baby for every excuse. Don't make the mistake of thinking that you get special treatment just because you're pregnant.
I'm not. I'm just telling you the facts. It's really bad for the baby if I'm out in the cold too long like this. Thinking that you don't care what happens to my body is the same thing as thinking that you don't care what happens to the baby. And I don't think you want anything to happen to the baby. Am I wrong?
There's no way there'll be any effect on the baby from you being in the rain for a bit. The baby is protected by your insulated fat and meat wool anyways.
I can't believe you. What are you going to do if I catch cold? Pregnant women can't just take any available medicine. What are you going to do if anything happens to me?
Don't be such a baby. Even if you catch a cold, all you need is a good night's sleep. You over-exaggerate everything, Heather. Man up a bit, will you? Anyways, I'm not letting you in until I see that you've learned your lesson. Why don't you think of this as training for becoming a better self?
You're the worst. Do you even realize how badly you're behaving?
How's it coming? Have you learned your lesson by now?
Do you know how many hours have passed? Even the hurricane has come and gone.
Yeah, you must be exhausted. But well, you needed some time to reflect on yourself. Now, do you know what happens when you neglect your job as a housewife just because you are pregnant? You can come home if you've learned your lesson and you are sorry.
Why should I be sorry? What are you doing is wrong in every way.
What? You are not sorry? Are you kidding me? I guess someone wants to stay out all night? I'm not going to lock the door then. Are you saying you're okay with that?
I don't care because I'm not coming home. You can do whatever you want.
What do you mean?
I'm never going back there ever again. I'm back in my parents' house now, and I will have the baby here with them.
You're with your parents? Are you telling me that you weren't reflecting on your actions outside?
I'm not stupid enough to stay outside in a hurricane, John. I'm with my parents. I call them to come pick me.
What the heck are you doing? This just proves that you haven't learned anything and aren't even sorry.
I told you that I'm not sorry, and that's not the issue here. I had to go to the emergency room. Do you know what you've done?
What, emergency?
Yeah, I got a fever of 102.2 Fahrenheit, and I had to be admitted to the hospital right away. They said that there might be some complications since my body is in a weak state. They said I might be infected by a bacteria or virus. What if that's true? That's going to have an effect on the baby for sure. The baby and I are connected.
There's no way you have that high of a fever. You forget that it's July right now.
It's more difficult not to catch a cold when you get exposed to the rain outside for hours, even if it's summer. It was already dark out too, and my body was cold to the core.
It's still hard to believe that the mere rain would cause a high fever.
It doesn't matter if you believe it. It's the fact I couldn't stop shaking even when my parents finally came and rescued me.
Seriously?
My parents are furious with you, especially my dad. He says he can't trust a man who puts his wife and his baby in danger.
Well, it's not like I purposefully caused you to have a high fever.
I don't think you fully understand how serious of a deal pregnancy is.
I do understand.
No, you don't. You couldn't have possibly done what you did to me if you really understood what being pregnant is like. My parents couldn't even believe me at first when I told them about what happened, because it's so different from how my dad acted when my mom was pregnant.
How so? What did your dad do so differently?
My mom had pretty bad morning sicknesses too. Seeing that, my dad realized that pregnancy is really hard on her body and that she's risking her life to have their baby. So he started doing all the house chores and supported her throughout her pregnancy. Even after I was born, he was just as involved in child raising as my mom, if not more. He never told mom that she was slacking off or accused her for being lazy when she was suffering from her morning sickness.
Doesn't that simply mean that your dad spoiled your mom too much?
How is it spoiling to let his sick wife rest when she's not feeling well? Honestly, if that's your standard, you should never be allowed to rest when you're sick from hangovers from now on. And when you get a stomach ache from eating too much, you have to keep working without taking any bathroom breaks. Because those aren't real sicknesses, you shouldn't need to rest either, right? This is basically what you've been saying to me. Do you hear how ridiculous this sounds?
The level of suffering is completely different between those things and your morning sickness.
Why would you even think that my morning sickness is not as big of a deal as those things? It's worse. I'm even suffering from anemia because my morning sickness is so bad. I'm losing so much weight that my doctor keeps warning me that I have to try to put on more weight. The numbers are showing how severe my morning sickness is, but you still think I'm lying? There are some people who get morning sickness so bad that they even have to be admitted to the hospital.
What? You could get admitted to the hospital simply for having a mere morning sickness.
Of course you could. You could also become dehydrated when your morning sickness lasts for a while. And your organs could even start dysfunctioning if it gets really bad. My doctor was warning me that at this pace, they might have to keep me at the hospital to be safe. And that's when you threw me out in the cold.
Well, I was all supposed to know that. This was meant to only be a little punishment. Nothing uncommon for a married couple, I'd say.
When I was already weak, you delivered the final blow by leaving me stranded in the storm for hours. Do you think my already beaten up body could take that? You think that was a little punishment? You lack imagination skills if you seriously thought that.
Well, I didn't know it was so bad.
I tried to explain to you so many times that morning sickness is different for everyone. And I tried to make you understand so many times that mine is really bad. But you never paid attention. You decided to believe in what you thought your mom went through and called me a liar and a lazy wife. I learned the hard way that you trust your mom more than you trust me.
That's not true. I didn't mean for this to happen. I just thought it's July and it's warm out and I thought you'd be fine. Never in a million years did I expect for this to cause you a serious fever.
I don't think any normal person would do anything like this to anyone, no matter what season it is. Especially to a pregnant person like myself. If anything happens to me, the baby's life could be in danger too. How do you not even know that? I'd say even a child knows better than you.
But I really didn't do this on purpose.
Enough with your excuses. My dad wants to talk to you about this whole thing.
What, he does?
He says he's going to call you later. You better answer his call. I don't think you will want to upset him more than he already is.
I'm so sorry, Heather. I was stupid. I promise that I will do all the things around the house from now on. I already did all the cleaning and the laundry. So please come home, I beg of you.
No, I'm not coming home. I prepared the divorce papers. You better sign them.
Hold on a second. I truly regret how I was behaving. I'm so sorry again for underestimating your morning sickness. I did the worst thing a husband can do.
It sounds like you finally realized how horribly wrong you were after talking to my dad. But it's way too late for any apologies now.
I grew up in a household full of men, and that made me ignorant about a woman's body. I didn't fully understand what pregnancy can do to your body. Of course, I know that you tried to tell me a few times, but I didn't really get it. But now I know that I was wrong.
Do you really understand now?
Yes, and I called my mom after your dad had the talk with me. I asked her about what her experience was like during her pregnancy, and she said her morning sickness wasn't too bad when she was pregnant with me. But apparently it was really bad when she was pregnant with my brother.
So you're saying that you had the wrong conception about pregnancy because you only heard about the part of your mom's experience and thought it's supposed to be easy?
That's correct, and now I know that I was wrong. She explained to me how hard being pregnant is.
Did you tell her about what you said to me?
Yeah, I did. And she was furious.
Of course she was.
I was ignorant. I really thought you were just using your pregnancy as an excuse to get away from your chores.
I can't believe you thought I would do that. That proves how much you don't trust me. I don't think it's possible for any couple to stay together when there's no trust between them.
I would never doubt you ever again. This experience proved to me that you are always right. I swear that I will always follow your lead from now on.
Yeah, you might say that now, but you never know when you'll go back to your old self. And you having a misconception about pregnancy is completely separate matter from you locking me out in a hurricane. You have something wrong with your moral sense if you thought it was okay to do that to me. I can be certain that you won't do something like that to our child someday. I don't want to raise a child with someone like that.
No one would ever do that to our child. You have to believe me.
Even though you didn't believe me no matter what. You've got some nerve to say that I have to believe you? How is that fair?
I don't want to break up. I've never even once considered getting a divorce.
Is that so? I would have thought you wanted to get divorced considering all the horrible things you've done to me.
No, that's not the case at all. I didn't know what to expect since everything was new to me, and I think I was kind of panicked with our first child being on the way. I know now that I was supposed to be supporting you instead of taking it out on you. I'm sorry.
I don't want a partner who panics and takes it out on his pregnant wife. I'm going to raise this child with my parents. My dad is way more reliable than you anyways. And I will not forgive you until I see that you truly learned your lesson, so you better keep apologizing forever. After that conversation, I didn't go back to our home until the day I decided to move out for good. I didn't want to see his face, so I picked a day that he's working and packed up everything with my parents. After you put everything in the car, it suddenly dawned on me it really was over, but I knew I was doing the right thing. So I decided to put my past behind me and move forward. That night, my husband called me crying, saying he's really sorry. He said he saw an empty room when he came back home and it really hit him. He wanted to tell me how much he regrets everything he did to me. But I told him off, saying that he shouldn't have done anything he'd regret to begin with. And I hung up the phone and blocked his number. After that, our baby finally arrived. Luckily, both the baby and I are healthy, and now I'm enjoying being a new mom with my parents' support. I will make sure to provide a quality life for this child and try my hardest to be a good mom. I chose to get divorced to protect the child, so I will stay strong and do this without him no matter what the cost.